There we go. Welcome, guys. All right. I was going to get on earlier, but had a couple other obligations, and then I saw there was a couple streamers on. Oop, to get my audio check up high there. Anyway, once I kind of got free this evening, I saw there was a few of the other reputable YouTube streamers that do weather, and they were covering things quite well here. We had a quite a large area of damaging winds and large hail here this afternoon into the evening. Those started with storms up here near, I guess, near and south and west of Valentine, Nebraska, and have essentially kind of developed and moved south and east here over the evening of June 7th. Depending on what part of the country you're watching here from, it could be June 7th still, or just in the central time zone here. We've just crossed midnight. So it's actually June 8th here in the central time zone. But yeah, if you're out here maybe in mountain time, you got another hour or so of, and then certainly if we have any viewers from the West Coast, you got a little bit more for June 7th. But well, I had the graphic pulled up already and was doing some other weather prep and everything, and just looking and actually reviewing a lot of data and videos from the tornado outbreak in Maryland the other day. So I was up doing some of that, and I thought, you know what, let me just pop on here. Probably do a pretty light stream tonight, and also make this more as prep for tomorrow, because I think tomorrow may actually be a little higher end severe weather than we maybe had in the models the last couple days. So we'll go over tomorrow's outlook here in a little bit, but I also wanted to cover, we are getting some of the severe storms into a little bit higher populated area here into eastern Kansas. So we can go through these severe storms. There are some strong but non-severe storms right now moving through Kansas City. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a severe warning out of those here as they continue to move. And then our camera is out of Emporia, Kansas, right here. We're actually looking, I believe, let me double check. Yeah, we're looking east, and actually there's quite a shelf that we can see out here when the lightning flashes. So there's some pretty good structure to this storm. It's kind of on the very top end of the camera here, but especially right in this area, we're looking at the back end of this storm. Let me zoom in on that, and I'll show you a little bit. So our camera is on I-35 here near Emporia. And yeah, we're looking east, so we're seeing the back edge of this, and at times it looks like it's had some pretty good structure to it. It recently went severe warned. Has a pretty good updraft with a kind of broad rotation, but nothing nothing tornadic at all. It's actually mostly wind that's surging out, but it definitely is a pretty storm, especially from what we've seen here in the lightning flashes. Every now and then the camera needs reset, but it's also been, since I got the camera started up here before the stream, it's also been almost near constant lightning flashes up in here. Let me just, for you guys, let me just take this a little fuller. On our stream from the Maryland tornado outbreak, the surprise Maryland tornado outbreak, we caught some tornadoes live on camera. I posted highlights about that yesterday. Yeah, we can see a little bit more of the storm here, pulling it up, basically taking it full. Emporia hasn't had any rain, although this camera is about to get slammed from the west. There's a line of severe storms. Emporia has a severe thunderstorm warning now for 60-mile-an-hour winds and just under 1-inch hail. The storms are back west of Emporia. They're west of I-35 and west of 335 right now, which is probably why our camera keeps freezing up a little bit. Probably some interference with some of the storms around this area, even though the road is dry here, looking at the east-northeast direction of I-35 right here in Kansas. But yeah, you can definitely see some of the structure of this storm here as we're looking at it from the backside. There was a pretty good look. And there was some lightning flash from behind our camera. So we may, unfortunately, actually, when those storms get to us, we may actually lose the view of this of the storm that we've been looking at. But all right, let me pull the camera back a little bit. Keep an eye on that one here. May switch to a different camera here in a little bit, but yeah, so once again, if you're just joining us, we're just kind of doing a pretty light stream tonight since I got this severe weather covered a little later than it peaked. Like again, I had some obligations, and then once I was free, I saw a bunch of the other reputable streamers were live, so just let them have it tonight. Definitely important. There's a lot of people that are starting to stream on YouTube and some other platforms, live weather. Definitely find a reputable one. If you're not watching this stream, it's good to watch a reputable one. But yeah, once again, we're looking at this storm from Emporia, looking east, northeast, seeing kind of the back end and structure of this storm. It had a special weather statement for a while, but it is severe warned pretty recently for 1-inch hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. And that is affecting parts of I-35 here towards Ottawa, Kansas. So now that I have the camera pushed back a little bit, we can see here in Emporia, you're about to get slammed with some pretty heavy wind. The hail threat, I think, is coming down on these storms. They're starting to cluster into a bit of a mini MCS. And we can see that also in the velocity scans. We can see those winds coming through Emporia right now. That's actually gusting out here, a little bit of a gust front just ahead of the main line of storm. So you're going to get the wind right now, probably along I-35, south of Emporia, and then you'll get the rain, wind, lightning, and thunder here a few minutes behind. But these storms, they stretch from Alta Vista down to Council Grove, Americus, just west of Emporia, and then Cottonwood Falls, Bazaar, Florence, and Burns. Out ahead of that is Cassaday, Madison, Opie. Eventually, these storms are moving a little more east. Let's see. Yeah, they're moving a little more east than some of the other storms that have moved kind of more southeast through Nebraska and Kansas today. So these ones are probably going to get through a lot of this severe weather watch here in the next couple hours overnight. It looks like they're going to replace the severe thunderstorm warning here with a, it's expiring in about 5 minutes, and it looks like they're going to replace that with another special weather statement here. So sub-severe storm, a strong, but maybe just slightly sub-severe storm. Yeah, nickel-size hail and then 50 to 55 mile an hour wind. So just shy of the severe weather criteria. But, ooh, just slammed the keyboard. It just means that the winds that any of the readings in this area have probably just not verified to be the severe weather criteria. Wouldn't be surprised if down the road it held together and got another severe warning. Kansas City suburbs, I mentioned, you guys have strong storms right now, but they're sub-severe as well. There is a special weather statement out for this area here south of Kansas City towards Belton, right on the Missouri and Kansas border here. It's going to slide actually right towards the Lee Summit radar site, so we can get a good look at this. Yeah, we're not seeing a big wind profile with this storm, so that's likely why it is sub-severe. Yes, wind gust up to 50, or sorry, wind gusts up to 40, and then penny-sized hail. But some strong thunderstorms moving through Kansas City suburbs up along 35 towards Shawnee, Overland Park, and then also downtown Kansas City right now is in a pretty good thunderstorm. These are about to cross into the Missouri side of things. And affect areas here from Kansas City, Missouri over to Independence, Raytown, Holmes Park, Unity Village, Lee Summit. Pretty much the whole Kansas City metro is going to get on this. And then there are more storms back further. So this is all moving south and east. Compared to what the models had earlier today, it's actually a bit, I guess, disorganized is how I would kind of call it right now, compared to what some of the models had basically a couple supercells kind of floating through Kansas or Nebraska, and then those kind of lining into a pretty organized MCS. That hasn't fully happened yet. So it still could, but we're seeing kind of a couple distinct multicellular clusters rather than a true MCS. The closest I think we have to MCS is right here, coming through Emporia with the Boeing segment of cells. But even that is actually kind of a couple cells combined. It's not a full MCS. And then we have a bit of a line of storms here. This one that we were looking at here from our camera is actually one of the few individual storms left. Here comes the rain into our camera. We can see that up here with the light here. We can see it's starting to rain. And interesting, we can still see that storm out east of us here. And then there's another cluster here of storms. Not really an arc, it's just kind of a cluster of storms. What's left over from the more individual storms from earlier in Nebraska. So yeah, interesting that there's a pretty good look at it out of the Topeka radar too. It's not really an MCS, it's just kind of a big cluster of storms. And then there's even some storms back towards Salina, Kansas, even back behind this little arc of storms. That area here just south of Kansas City is actually going to get a severe warning. Let's go look at that again. 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind, so they've upped it. Not seeing a ton of wind in there, so I would guess that the primary criteria is probably for the hail. We are seeing some of those purple returns right in here between Stanley and Aubrey, right on the Kansas state line. We can zoom into this. This is near West 167th Street, between 167th and 175th Street here in the Kansas City suburbs. Yeah, for some reason that live camera is a really nice live camera, but I got to keep playing with it and just tapping it every now and then to get it going. Yeah, we're starting to see that line of storms come in. Oh, wow, look at the this is a pretty good amount of wind here. This is a severe warning storm here near Emporia. We're seeing the sign. The sign is really shaking down here. And yeah, we're still seeing the lightning from the other storm out here. But this is actually a really unique view. We're getting the weather from the line of storms behind the camera, and then we're still seeing the storm out in front. That, I don't know if that was a power flash or just lightning that we saw weird, but yeah, there's something right here. What is that? I saw it again right here. That was not lightning. It looked like a power flash. Let's look at that storm real quick. I don't think it was a tornadic power flash. If anything, it was a power flash from the leading edge, the high winds in here. Although, it's a little bit of an area rotation in there. It's not very tight, but there is a little bit of an area here. That's interesting. Kind of, well, I'm gonna watch back in here again. We may have been 1 or 2 power flashes right back in the dark here. That is interesting. There is a bit of rotation in here. I think at the least, even if it's not super tight rotation, I think our camera just saw the surge of winds here. And those are, let's see, those are probably pushing 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. So that, again, that may not have been a tornadic power flash. That may have just been something caught the power line or a transformer with the wind gust right there. But that was interesting. That was an interesting one. And yeah, the sign is shaking down here pretty good. So heavy winds coming through Emporia, Kansas, and we just saw that they're kind of surging out right in this area, just along I-35. So it is not a fun drive here around Emporia, Kansas. The one good news here, and I've talked about it in other streams, is that this wind here that we're watching in Emporia area is coming perpendicular or parallel with the highway. So any of these trucks here are basically driving into the wind or away from the wind. We get problems like along I-335 where you have the big trucks and then the wind hits it from the other side. So for the area highway that we're watching right now, yeah, we're getting some strong winds, but at least they're blowing with the highway. There is some rotation in here where we saw that power flash. Again, it's kind of broad. I wouldn't call it tornadic rotation, but there is a bit of something in there. But I think that's just right now leading to some higher winds surging out here. That's an area to watch, though. That could tighten back up. If that tightens up, you know, there could be something there. That would head up towards Barclay, Reading, maybe up to Osage City. It's kind of over this area here, I-35 and Lang right now. So we'll keep an eye on that. That was an interesting moment there. I think these storms are generally weakening a little bit, especially the ones here on the southern side with the outflow boundary that's pushed out. So these storms down on this part of this line segment are a little more outflow dominant here at the moment. That's some still pretty strong winds. Yeah, we've seen the hail pick up on this storm. Definitely good call by the National Weather Service. Again, they're right here in Lee's Summit, the National Weather Service, and their radar site here in Pleasant Hill. So they got a good view of this storm here near Aubrey, Kansas, right on the Kansas-Missouri border. Hello, hello. Thanks for joining us. See some people coming into the chat here tonight. We're just kind of doing a little quick broadcast. I don't think this is going to be too long tonight, but I just wanted to cover a little bit of the severe weather. Again, I had some obligations earlier, and then by the time I was on and or available, a bunch of the other reputable streamers already had the severe weather covered earlier today. So they covered all the really intense severe weather. I think there was at least some apple-sized hail out here in Nebraska and western Kansas, and also I think a couple tornadoes. But yeah, so they had that covered. I'm sure you can go back and take a look at their streams if you want to check those out. Our camera just turned. Well, we're looking west now here in Emporia, Kansas. Anyway, they had it covered pretty good, so I just kind of did a little family activities and then also checked on some data from the tornado outbreak in Maryland the other day. A couple new severe thunderstorm warnings here. That storm that we were watching here when the stream started near Ottawa, Kansas, that has gone severe warned again. It had really good structure when we were looking at it here with the lightning, so not surprised. That structure indicates there's a pretty good organized updraft, and that supports large hail and damaging winds. And we can see that here along 35. Yeah, the winds have picked up near Pomona. Those are some pretty strong winds up in here. This is west of Ottawa, Kansas right here. And yeah, near Pomona, Kansas. That's a pretty strong area of wind. There's kind of a bit of a bow within this storm. So that's likely causing some of that surge of winds within the storm here. and the when high winds that are reading in the radar are co-located with some pretty heavy precip, that precip can bring stuff down to the ground level too. So there may be some damaging winds verifying in that area. Yeah, would not be shocked about that. So some good news around Emporia. They've let the severe thunderstorm warning expire for this line of storms here. Still a little area of that notch that we have to watch out for, but we did see on the camera here some pretty gusty winds, but it looks like they were just below the severe limits. Yeah, we'll stay on the Emporia cam for a little bit, but then I'll probably switch to a different cam. And yeah, heavy rain, winds, and lightning here coming through Cottonwood Falls, Bazaar, and the areas here around Emporia, Kansas. Let's set a new warning here out west. This is a considerable threat for 70-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-size hail near Holland and Hope and Harrington, Kansas. So we're seeing this storm here. Yeah, there's some pretty good wind in here just southwest of Holland, Kansas. Gypsum, Carlton, Elmo, Dillon, Hope. You guys definitely need to be away from windows, skylights, that kind of stuff. Be in a stable structure, and if you can, in an interior room. Those are considerable threats, severe thunderstorms. Especially if there's any wind-driven hail in here, that can cause quite a bit of damage. Those storms are also generally moving east, so areas that have already been hit around Cottonwood Falls, Council Grove, Harrington, Lincolnville, and Wilsey, you guys may get another round of pretty strong or severe storms here if those hold together around the Holland area and keep moving kind of east-southeast. Yeah, without kind of one defined MCS complex, like the models kind of indicated there may be, without one of those, there's kind of these individual cells and clusters of cells, and they're somewhat kind of training over the same area. So you may get a round of heavy thunderstorms or severe storms like here, Osage City to Ottawa, and then there's, you know, the second round's coming through a few minutes to a little while later. Back to Kansas City, because there probably is some people watching here from Kansas City. We're watching strong storms move through the Kansas City city itself. They're moving onto the Kansas City, Missouri side here. Pretty much all the Kansas City, Missouri metro, from the airport, Liberty, Clacamo, Independence, Raytown, Blue Springs, Unity Village, and Lee Summit, all the way down here. And then this is where a severe storm is, Belton and Raymore, and just now east of Aubrey, around Cleveland, and just northwest of Harrisonville, especially the southern side of this around Route D, also approaching I-49 south of Belton. That is a pretty good hail return, and also we're really close to the radar site, so we're seeing hail at a fairly low level, which means there's probably some hail falling in there. It's been upgraded to golf ball size hail and a considerable threat. Severe thunderstorm warning. Moving in here further, Riverview Estates, Harrelson, Peculiar, yeah, it's late at night. Jordan and Coleman, also Raymore, and even up towards Lake Winnebago. Although, just double check the motion of this. Yeah, the motion is almost due east. So I think Belton and Raymore, most of this hail core is going to go south of you guys. But Peculiar and Coleman, and even if it holds together, areas north of Harrisonville, Uber and Orr, you guys got to prepare here for a pretty substantial hail storm if this is golf ball size hail falling in here. Right on the Kansas and Missouri state line at the moment. Storms also around Topeka and Rock Creek up towards Valley Falls. Even other storms here near DeSoto and Overland Park. just kind of a big mess of storms. Again, they're not really an MCS cluster. They're not super organized right now. Some of them are severe. Some of them are special weather statements, so just below severe limits. There's some more severe storms out here by St. Mary's and Manhattan. But either way, gusty winds. Luckily, the hail seems to be a little smaller on these storms here on the, say, north of I-70 right now. 60-mile-an-hour winds and maybe 3/4 inch hail. And wouldn't be surprised if really any of these storms from Topeka, Lawrence, Overland Park, up towards Leavenworth, Kickapoo, wouldn't be surprised if we get some severe warnings out of those just randomly for any of the pockets of heavier wind and also any pockets of larger hail. Pretty much anywhere where there's these darker reds and a little bit of these purples. That one there, north of KC, even down here towards Topeka a little bit. So we may get a few severe warnings out of those, but they're not super organized right now. Yeah, it's kind of a messy night here in Kansas. Stretching now into Missouri. And let me just really check the national look here. There was actually some severe storms here in northern Nevada earlier today, so. But yeah, and there was some pretty strong storms in South Florida. Some of the models had those going a little later into the evening, but it looks like there's not really anything going on down in Florida. All right, moving back into the Kansas City metro. Let me switch the traffic cam. I do like this Emporia location, but let me see if there's anything. Ooh. Trying to see if there's any camera that's showing live here around that hailstorm. Well, that's not a good look. Temporary outage of camera images and electronic signs on the website in the Kansas City area. So these cams all might be out in the Kansas City metro. Anyway, I'm going to focus in on this a little bit. It's more of a populated area, and it's also, I think, our largest considerable threat at the moment. It's a considerable threat, severe thunderstorm, golf ball size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. This is between Cleveland and Belton, Missouri here, just on the Kansas and Missouri state line, with the heaviest of the hail right here between Riverview Estates, Peculiar, Lake Annette, and Cleveland. Here, this is all just crossed into Missouri, so this is all in Missouri now. We saw the hail kind of pick up here right around Aubrey and US 69. That's moved basically east, just south of east, and is approaching the I-49 corridor. Okay, we'll leave the Kansas City metro here, and how close can I get into Kansas City before the cameras are down? I don't think this is storm related. I think it's maybe just a glitch in the Kansas system here. Yeah. Okay. This is I-35 here at Wellsville. So there's at least one camera that's working. This is around the Ottawa area. Okay, yeah, let's see. Just north and east of Ottawa, Kansas. So we're not even into the worst of the storm. And it already looks like it's coming down pretty good there. Yeah, wow. Look at the that's not hail. I think that's the camera light showing. I don't think that's hail. Yeah, this Wellsville camera is probably not in hail. That's just, I think, heavy rain. It's just looking weird in the night vision. Yeah, it's definitely windy there. This is a severe warning storm. 1-inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind. And those strongest winds, though, are back to the west of Ottawa. They've come down, it looks like, a little bit. So that's some good news, but there's still some pockets of pretty heavy wind in there. And some pretty good hail in here, too. This line of storm that we saw come through Emporia, that's going to start catching up to this storm. So we'll see the storm probably get incorporated into this cluster / line of storms here in the next little bit. Go over to Topeka. There are some pretty strong storms here just on the southeast sides of Topeka along I-70 here. This is eventually going to get over to Lawrence, Kansas. Again, these are sub-severe at the moment around the Topeka area, but I wouldn't be surprised if we got a warning out of these. They're just below severe limits with penny-sized hail and 50-mile-an-hour winds. But yeah, there's some decent winds in there. And we can see a little bit of the hail core here, just to the east of Topeka. Again, that's along 70, so that's a pretty well-traveled area there. And then the storms here now are quickly pushing through the Kansas City metro. Downtown Kansas City just has a couple showers around. You're going to get more storms, though, later with this next batch. But the heaviest storms now are east of Kansas City, Lee Summit, Grain Valley, Buckner, up towards Liberty. These are also moving along 70, so not a fun drive here towards Raytown, Leeds, Independence, over towards Grain Valley and Oak Grove. You guys will get on the storms here in a little bit. And then I want to check our other considerable threat. This one was for 1-inch hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds. Still some pretty gusty winds in here. Carlton, Elmo, Dillon. This storm, at least on the radar presentation, seems to be downtrending a little bit, but could still get some pretty gusty winds out of here. Holland over to Hope and Harrington, Kansas. So yeah, right now I think that is our strongest storm here right now. This area here south of Belton, we're even starting to get some of those blue returns in here. Like right in there. That's indicating some larger hail. So golf ball size, could even get a chunk or two that's a little higher than golf ball size. This is quickly approaching here I-49, Old Peculiar, and exit here I-49 and Route J. This is pretty good hail here out Route YY. Missouri numbers their state highways, but Missouri has also state highways that are labeled with letters. So a bit of a unique state highway numbering system. There's a couple other states that have that, but Missouri is one that uses it pretty significantly. Yeah, there's another blue return here. South of Peculiar on Highway C, just north of Lake Annette. So we probably are going to see some hail reports here, I think, return. This is, again, a considerable threat, severe thunderstorm from Cleveland, Raymore, Belton, Lake Annette, over just to the northwest of Harrisonville in Missouri here. But yeah, I think the strongest part of the storm is south of Belton and Raymore right now. But this is a decently populated, kind of the furthest southern suburbs of Kansas City. Yeah, this area here, Belton to Harrisonville, is kind of one of those areas where the uh, kind of the most outer ring suburbs, where there's suburbs and neighborhoods, but also some farm fields mixed in. Yeah, we're gonna get an extension to this. Gulf both sides hail, considerable threat. Gonna slide down here towards Harrisonville, East Lynn, Gun City, Garden City, Freeman. Although it's moved a little more south and east than it did earlier. We saw it kind of around Aubrey, so it's kind of moving like this. I think especially if you're south of Route 7, that's going to be your lower chances of getting some of the larger hail. The larger hail, I think, is going to mostly be here from Lake Annette and Peculiar through Harrisonville, Yuber, East Lynn, Gun City, or maybe Wingate, and then Dougherty, maybe Pretty Man, and then all the way down, possibly towards Garden City, but especially I think north of Garden City here in Missouri. From Garden City up toward Gun City, that's where your chances of the larger hail, I think, are the greatest. For example, I think Freeman, you guys are in this warning still, but most of this is north of Freeman already. So I don't think Freeman's probably good to go on this. It's not gonna just it's not just gonna hang a 90-degree turn there. But this is quickly here right along I-49, so that is not a good time to travel there. I wish we had a camera there. Let me see if I can if these Kansas City cameras are working again. All right, we'll keep our Wells built camera right now. Wow, that is going there on the traffic cam here for Wellsville. Let's take a look at that storm again. There's Wellsville right here. So yeah, we're just on the outer edge of the storm. So this storm gets worse if you're down here towards Peoria, Stanton, Ottawa, Kansas, over towards 169 Paola. This is just a taste of what this storm has. You can see the wind blowing, heavy lightning. Yeah, this is a pretty strong thunderstorm there. All right, so let's stick with this one here for a little bit. This is the storm here with the large hail, golf ball size hail around Peculiar down to Harrisonville, over towards Yuba, East Lynn, Gun City. Good news is we're seeing a little less of those purples and definitely less of the blue colors here. So we may get a decrease here of the severe weather. Still a few cars traveling through here. Okay. Got a camera up here from Missouri. This is out on not our severe storm, but this is out towards Green Valley here. So just outside of the Kansas City suburb where the cameras are working. So we're looking at this line of pretty strong but sub-severe storms move in, especially south of I-70. So we're seeing some of those lightning flashes there. Keep an eye on those. Yeah, we're seeing this line of storms here merge with, this is not a fun drive here. If you have to go on I-35 from Emporia to Kansas City right now, this is essentially all storms. Yeah, like 100 miles of storms. Pretty much from Kansas City all the way up I-35 or down I-35 to Emporia right now. That is not fun. So if you don't have to travel, don't. The other considerable threat, severe thunderstorm that I mentioned was downtrending earlier near Harrington, Kansas. That looks like has been allowed to expire. So some good news there. Just seeing some general thunderstorms. And then also a lot of general thunderstorms from St. Joseph, Atchison, Leavenworth, Holton, St. Mary's. A little bit stronger storms here between Topeka and Lawrence, Kansas. These are special weather statement just below severe limits. And then a pretty good cluster of special weather statement storms. These were severe warned just a little bit ago. But essentially this whole area from Emporia all the way through Ottawa. That is a pretty strong area of storms. It's, again, we're kind of seeing that it was one individual storm that was out here in front, and that is getting combined into the line of storms. So a little bit more organization and clustering here is going on in kind of this east central part of Kansas. Those are going to eventually move, especially this cluster here, towards, you know, areas like Pittsburgh, Joplin, Springfield, Bolivar. What else is out here? Nevada. Areas along I-49 here: El Dorado Springs, Stockton, Greenfield, Ashgrove, Carthage, Fort Scott, Kansas, Humboldt, Garnet. Probably already seeing lightning flash around the Garnet area, but you have storms to your north and west. So yeah, pretty good area storms. And then storms still in the Kansas City suburbs and downtown. Not severe at the moment, though. So still seeing some okay winds in there. It's being warned for 60-mile-an-hour winds. Good news is, yeah, we're seeing that hail core come down. The tag here for considerable has also been dropped. It's down to $half size hail. But yeah, I think somewhere in here between Aubrey and areas here around Peculiar, I think somewhere in here got a pretty good chunk of hail, golf ball size, or even a little bit higher than that. Somewhere in here. So we had up to apple-sized hail earlier in Nebraska. Baseball size. We had 70-mile-an-hour wind report. A few of those, I think. We had a couple tornadoes. So it was a rough afternoon and evening in Nebraska and northern Kansas. Another baseball-sized hail report in Hoxie. Broken windshields. Street flooding due to hail accumulation. Wow. 70-mile-an-hour wind gust along 70 in Hayes, Kansas. So yeah, things were rocking and rolling pretty good here back in Nebraska and western Kansas earlier today. Again, the models kind of showed a cluster of storms. We're maybe starting to see that take place. I think we're starting to see the storms back here towards Manhattan and Topeka downtrend, and we're starting to see kind of a organization of storms forming on that leading edge here. So we may still get some type of MCS. I don't know if it's going to be a fully severe MCS like some of the models were showing, but that MCS, or at least cluster of storms, will likely slide east and south through a lot of western and southern Missouri here overnight, with at least strong storms. And some of those may get over towards Columbia and Jefferson City as well. St. Louis, I think by morning, may get some storm. Still watching. This is, I think, our only severe thunderstorm warning here. Expires in 23 minutes. Right near Harrisonville. Talked about you guys earlier. So you probably, I mean, there's good news is it's not baseball-sized hail, but there's still probably some hail falling here around Harrisonville and points just north of Harrisonville, up along Route 291 and Route 7 towards Uber and Orr. Areas here along Jefferson Parkway and Route EE, and probably just north of Route 2 there. So yeah, if you're out here at Lake Annette and Freeman, you guys are good. Actually, they shrunk the warning up anyway. So, and then south of Harrisonville, you guys are good in that part of the warning. But yeah, and I'm pretty confident now, Garden City, you guys are gonna probably miss out on the biggest hail. Any of the bigger hail is gonna fall north of Route 7 here in Missouri. But big storms coming in from the west still. Again, non-severe at the moment, but we saw what those were looking like on the traffic cam here near Wellsville a little bit ago. So we saw what those were looking like. This area here too, around Paola and down towards Lynn Valley, that has a pretty concentrated area of higher lightning returns. That often indicates the more well-organized updrafts, higher storm tops, and more strong to severe storms. So if the lightning is picking up on this part of the storm, that could indicate that this is upscaling here. And that's right along 69 and 169. Henson, Block, New Lancaster, and Drexel Corner in Kansas. Well, while things are fairly calm here at the moment, I want to break down. Yeah, I was kind of going to use this for a live event, but also use it more as a breakdown for tomorrow. So this is our remaining it's already switched over. Yeah, let me double check that. Hold on. All right, let's see here. Yeah, this was. Okay, well, I was going to show you the June 7th outlook, but so essentially there was an enhanced risk today. Let me switch this over to black here. Essentially, the enhanced risk just went basically in this area here, and then there's a little larger slight risk. The slight risk went kind of like something like that. Stretched back into southwest Kansas. I think it even went a little bit further. I think it went down into Texas a little bit. Kind of something like this was the enhanced risk. Or not enhanced risk, but slight risk. So this was today, and this was the enhanced. From kind of north central Nebraska, all the way down through Lincoln, and then into the Kansas City area. But that is all gone. So this is the risk here for tomorrow, as in the morning, and next day. So this is the forecast for June 8th. Wherever you are in the country, some parts of the country here, it's already June 8th. And then other parts of the country still on the West Coast, it's still June 7th. So this is the June 8th outlook. It includes a very large area of potential severe weather, a big banana kind of looking thing, but all the way from near Casper, Wyoming, and then back down into the mid-Mississippi Valley around Memphis. So pretty large area of severe weather. And it's for a couple things. We're going to have this MCS, or at least somewhat cluster of storms moving through areas here in Missouri and into the mid-Mississippi Valley. Even if those start to die out, especially once they get into southern Missouri and Arkansas, they're going to leave outflow boundaries out in here. So that's going to spark more development somewhere out in here. Even if, say, the storms get to, say, the Springfield area, then kind of die out in the morning, they're going to leave these outflow boundaries that are just going to float around here with daytime heating and then spark more storms. And there's a couple models I saw recently that have a pretty good area of storms redeveloping. Maybe along if the storms kind of go like this, there may be some outflow boundaries that come out of there, and then some new storms form kind of along a line like that. So there's some different model discrepancy, and the models will keep kind of refining what happens, especially a situation like here. in Missouri, where a lot of the development is contingent on what happens with the current cluster of storms. We won't have a great idea of exactly what the models are going to print out until this kind of happens. So once those storms kind of get down to this point and we start to see what outflow boundaries they're leaving, that'll help those models hone in on what exactly happens in kind of central and eastern Missouri tomorrow down into the mid-Mississippi Valley. But wouldn't be totally shocked if we get a little bit of an upgrade somewhere in this area. And not to be too boastful, but we called those upgrades pretty good for yesterday. So on the stream the night of the Maryland tornadoes, I was mentioning there was possibilities of upgrades, and I think all of those verified yesterday with upgrades. So again, not getting too cocky, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get some upgrades in here. We do have a enhanced risk now from northeast Colorado all the way down into central and western Kansas here. And then we have a slight risk that stretches out just to the Denver metro, especially east side of Denver, up to about Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then down towards Wichita, Kansas here. Also include the Oklahoma Panhandle and just east of Colorado Springs. So a pretty good area of thunderstorms. A little bit of storms even back towards the west there, and then this time of year, we always have to watch Florida. Florida had a pretty good amount of storms yesterday. Today, it was a little bit more isolated. We'll just have to keep watching Florida. Florida has a kind of a frontal boundary that's moving through that may spark a few more storms, I think, tomorrow. So we'll see about that. But our categorical risks here, okay, they've adjusted things a little bit here. So we have a pretty good 2% risk of tornado potential. You know, I wouldn't be totally shocked if we get a little bit more, or at least expand. I would say at the very least, I think we might get a little bit of expansion of the 2% risk somewhere out here, but wouldn't also be shocked if we got a little bit of an upgrade either. So 2% risk from the high plains, Colorado, all the way down to north of Memphis here, and right about where the confluence of the Ohio and Mississippi rivers meet. So a very large, expansive 2% risk. Not super wide, just kind of long. This is the wind risk, and it is already a hatched wind risk here for some pretty significant winds in that area here in eastern Colorado. So this is a wind-driven enhanced risk, it looks like. I actually haven't looked at this yet. This new data just came out. Let's see, when did it come out? 12:42 Central Time. So it's 1 a.m. So just about 20 minutes ago. Yeah, significant severe wind risk here. That includes Fort Morgan, Colorado, Lyman, Colorado, areas along I-70 here in eastern Colorado down towards Lamar. And then into Kansas, it includes Goodland, Kansas, down towards Lakin, Ulysses, Dodge City, Great Bend, Pratt, and areas just west of Medicine Lodge, North Liberal. And that is a pretty good wind risk here. Yeah, I think I did see models for that earlier today. Looks like there's going to be some storms out here that also try to form an MCS. And I think there's a little more confidence that that is going to be a more structured MCS and likely have some damaging winds as it makes its way south and east. So there wasn't as high a confidence that that was going to happen with this cluster. And I think we're kind of seeing that verify with just kind of strong to some marginal severe storms at the moment. And then our hail threat is higher before those storms kind of form into that MCS and early on in that MCS complex. When they're more individual storms, that's when they have the chance to drop some really large hail. That's areas here east of Denver, areas that aren't areas that are pretty used to larger hail, but It cuts off quite significantly right into the Denver metro, but then just east of there, it's a hatched risk for Greeley, Wiggins, Fort Morgan, Brush, Deer Trail, Lyman, Hugo, Cheyenne Wells, Lamar, just near Lamar. That is a 30% large hail, significant hatched risk there. And then there is the larger 15% risk that stretches all the way out Fort Collins, Cheyenne, Sterling, Lamar, Kansas, or Oklahoma, and then into Kansas, Goodland, Ulysses, Liberal, even down towards Guyman, Oklahoma, and into Oklahoma, north of Woodward, Medicine Lodge, Kansas, Wichita, Hutchinson, McPherson, Great Bend, Dodge City, Hayes, and Colby, Kansas. That pretty good area hail. And then even a lesser area hail all the way up from Casper down towards Amarillo, and then all the way towards the Memphis area and the mid-Mississippi River Valley. So a pretty larger severe weather event there. I lost my mouse for a second. Oh, and there's a bit of a hail risk also, it looks like, in northern California and southern Oregon tomorrow. After that, Sunday, things calm down pretty significantly. May have some high plains action here, with just some upsloping and a few more storms here in Idaho. But otherwise, it calms down quite significantly here on Sunday and also Monday. Is that the same? No, it's a little bit different, but right now it looks very close to being the same. So I think tomorrow's the last kind of wider spread day of severe weather. And essentially what we have here is we have what we highlighted on the video earlier this week is we have a let's pick a different color. Okay, that yeah, this will work. Okay. We have a big area high pressure, basically from Texas up to California there. And then we have right now a dip in the jet stream. There were showers and even a couple severe storms, I think, in northern New York today, and also in Canada had a couple, I think, stronger storms today. But there's a bit of a dip here in the east, and then there's a high pressure. The low pressure is up in Canada for the most part, I think now. But and essentially we have a couple of disturbances are riding around that high pressure. So that is what's going to spark the one here that's currently going through Kansas and Nebraska today. That's one disturbance that's kind of rode this ridge. And then tomorrow, another one kind of does the same thing, maybe just a little bit further south and west into Colorado and Kansas. So, yeah. So we're just seeing kind of this, the storm activity has just been concentrated here around this area, high pressure. It's kind of an elongated high pressure. It's somewhat like this, like Kansas or Texas up to the west here. Sometimes we get a ridge and it might look like this. That's called an omega block, where there's a low on each side of it, and we get a high pressure like this. In those situations, that pushes the storm track way up, and a lot of times even up so far north that it pushes it up into Canada, the track of storms. So we don't have that right now. We have just a big high pressure, but it's kind of elongated. A couple new severe thunderstorm warnings here. We'll take a look at those. These are on the edge of storms. Let's see here. But this is that area here around Garnet, Welda, Colony, Burlington, here in east central Kansas. quarter-size hail and 60-mile-an-hour winds. Areas south of Ottawa, Kansas. We saw what those storms looked like earlier, so those are pretty powerful storms here at the moment. I think those are our strongest ones. Yeah, we're really starting to see those storms that were in northern Kansas, north of Topeka, north of I-70. They're starting to back down quite a bit. Really just kind of becoming an area of general rain and some thunder, and maybe a few gusty winds, but they've dropped a lot of those special weather statements here back toward Topeka. So that's good news. This is, I guess, in the time frame that we've been on the live stream, started to form a little bit more of that organized cluster to MCS type system here. So we're starting to maybe see that developing. I don't know if it's going to be a fully severe MCS, but likely there's going to be, you know, a couple random severe thunderstorm warnings as every now and then here as these move south and east. Now we're seeing a new severe thunderstorm potential here popping up near Green Valley, right over the radar site, with some maybe some hail right in there. What are they? 40-mile-an-hour wind and half-inch hail. So there could be some hail right in here. And again, this is close to that radar site, so we're seeing that those hail returns at a pretty low level here. We're watching that too on the camera. Still coming down pretty good in Wellsville. And then this is our camera here out of the I-70 east to Kansas City here, so we're seeing those lightning. Let's see. All right, I'll take it from here. It's a little further out, but a little closer to those storms. They're now kind of east of Green Valley towards Oak Grove, Lake Lafayette, down towards Warrensburg, Missouri. Those storms that were severe warned earlier, what's left of that storm, that's downtrended pretty rapidly, is around Gun City and Kingsville. And then, yeah, we're seeing more of a line now kind of formed. This is coming through Lee's Summit, Belton. And that is your strongest storm right there near Lee's Summit. Still some strong storms coming through the Kansas City metro. I may try and go back to that one camera. All right, yeah, I'll stick with this camera then. That's going to show those storms that are, this is looking west, so it's going to show this next line of storms. Kansas City already got a line of storms earlier here, but that's going to show those coming towards this camera. And then still pretty strong storms here, right on the Kansas-Missouri state line. Severe warn then backed by Burlington, Garnet, and areas along 169 here, Welda and Colony, Kansas. Things are starting to settle down. You can pretty much clear severe weather here if you're back towards Manhattan, Junction City. We could just take this radar site just to double check things, but yeah, some strong storms, but basically general thunderstorms here at the moment. Leavenworth, Platte City, Rock Creek, Valley Falls, Nortonville, Atchison, Horton. Just some lightning, heavy rain, gusty winds. That extends up towards Maryville in Missouri, St. Joseph. All those areas here north of Kansas City. And then a little stronger here east side of Kansas City. That's where the special weather statement is for here around Lee's Summit. But these are decently strong. We're seeing those on the camera here. Buckner, Green Valley, down towards, let's see, Amsterdam, Missouri, Lynn Valley, Kansas. Those will approach the I-49 corridor. And then, yeah, those severe storms down towards Garnet. Let's take a look at those. Yeah, pretty strong storms in here. Let's see. Our closest radar site, yeah. Otherwise, we'd have to go to to Springfield. There's maybe a better look. They're kind of bowing out here, right in there. So if those hold together as severe storms, that's coming towards Centerville, Blue Mound, Colony, and then eventually down towards US 54, Moran, Iola. That may get down your way. So yeah, we've seen a bit of a cluster of storms here form, a little more organization than we had when we first started the stream. So we'll see those make their way through Missouri here and Kansas tonight. And maybe get as far down into the northwest Arkansas area here around Bentonville. But I don't know if they'll get down that far. And they may also get as far east as Jefferson City. And eventually some of this may kind of redevelop in the morning and over towards the St. Louis area. So St. Louis may get some general thunderstorms and rain, and any stronger storms would be redeveloped. But yeah, this whole area is going to kind of just move south and east. So areas here basically going to get storms overnight into the early morning. Once again, that's Pittsburgh, Independence, Kansas, Joplin, Carthage, Greenfield, Ashgrove, Springfield, Republic, Ozark, Seymour, Lebanon, St. Robert, Rubidoux, Rolla, Jeff City, Jefferson City, areas around Lake of the Ozarks if you're vacationing out here in Lake of the Ozarks, and we've got Truman Reservoir, I think, Warsaw, Lorry, Versailles. You guys are going to get storms overnight here. Appleton City, Butler, Clinton, Warrensburg, Sedalia, Boonville, Columbia, Marshall. So, good night to just kind of stay in and let these pass here while you're sleeping. And have a way to get weather warnings, especially overnight. Have a weather radio. Sometimes the cell phones don't work. Sometimes they don't give a warning. So if you're worried about storms at night, have a way to get weather warnings through NOAA weather radios. They're pretty cheap. You can buy them online, or you can buy them in stores too. They have them in Walmarts, and I think I've seen them in even gas stations and convenience stores and truck stops. I think I've even seen them in there. So might even have them at an auto parts store. I don't even know. I feel like I might have seen them there once too. But they definitely have them at Walmart and some of the big box stores. So we'll watch this move through Kansas and Missouri here overnight. That'll do it here for the stream. I just wanted to come on and just kind of go through the severe weather that we had, and especially as it pushed through the Kansas City metro, and then also detail a little bit of the severe weather threat for tomorrow. So we'll see tomorrow. An all hazards threat tomorrow, but I think tomorrow the wind threat is going to be even a little bit higher even than it was today. And we still, I think, are going to get some big hail. But especially this area here, this is our enhanced risk for tomorrow. I'll just pull that up again. Yeah, there's your enhanced risk tomorrow. Likely another MCS developing somewhere out of storms in the Front Range, and the high plains are going to cluster up and develop into an MCS that transitions through western Kansas, essentially. So we'll see that tomorrow, and then a little bit more scattered to isolated activity out here. That could be an all hazards threat, especially if those are individual storms or clusters of storms. There may be something like this where there's a couple clusters of storms that are severe at times. So we'll have to see about those. Real quickly before we end the stream here, just a new severe thunderstorm warning to cover areas like Humboldt, Iola, and Yates Center and Toronto. That's for that area of gusty winds that's bowed out here. And yeah, still strong storms here around Lee's Summit. So it looks like the strongest storms now are pushing on the east side of Kansas City now. So that's a good sign. My contact is like super dry. So I'm going to call it a night. And thanks for tuning in here. A little bit of severe weather coverage and a little bit of an outlook here for tomorrow. So thanks again, and we'll see you here on the next